Good evening. Welcome to the National News Broadcast. I'm Kasuni Balachandra.
And I am Tilina Udayaratna. First of all, we take a look at tonight's top stories. Public life in many areas in the country has been affected with the inclement weather situation. 3 succumbed after an earthbound collapsed over a house. Water levels in many reservoirs continue to rise. Relief teams are on standby to face any potential disaster situation. 160 new training centers to uplift the batik and local apparel industry. Continuous adherence to health guidelines with limited movement has been re-emphasized. 16 countries to assist Sri Lanka's organic fertilizer program. On your top local story this evening, 3 persons have succumbed after an earth mound had collapsed on a house in Dombamanda, Ramukkana this morning due to the prevailing inclement weather condition. Also, another 5 persons have succumbed during the period from last night to this morning due to various weather-related incidents. The water levels in many rivers have reached the spill level due to the heavy rainfall, while flood situations have been reported from many areas. Sri Lanka Air Force and the Sri Lanka Navy have said that security personnel along with aircrafts and boats are on standby for relief operations. The Disaster Management Centre said that the house in Dombamanda in Ramukkana has been completely destroyed following the collapse of the earth mound. A mother and 2 daughters had succumbed from this incident, while the father has been admitted to the Kegalle General Hospital for treatment. The 611th Battalion of the Sri Lanka Army and the soldiers of the 8th Sri Lanka Singha Regiment, together with the residents of the area, were able to take out those who were buried in the earth mound. The water level of the Kalini River continues to rise following heavy rainfalls in the upper feeding areas. The water level, which was marked at 6.26 meters in the Avissavella area around 9 p.m. last night, was indicated at 7.66 meters around 3 p.m. today. Many low-lying areas along the Hangwella-Nittambu Road in Pugoda and Sitavaka and Dompe Divisional Secretariat divisions have been inundated. The water level of the Kalini River in the Colombo-Nagalagam Street region has risen to 4 feet and 7 inches by this evening, a 7-inch increase compared to yesterday. A 23-year-old youth has succumbed after an earth mound had collapsed on a house in Vennorua, Alauwa. The incident had occurred around 1 a.m. today. The deceased has been identified as a nurse employed at a private hospital in Colombo. The mother and the brother of the deceased have not been injured from the incident. Meanwhile, another person in Akmi Managol had drowned after being caught in flood waters. The police have said that he had drowned in the flood waters while commuting along the Katukurunda Road in Totagoda, Akmimana last night. As per the warning issued by the Department of Irrigation, the water levels of the Mahaoya River basin in Giriulla Alauwa have risen extensively. The water level at the Giriulla River gauging station has reached 8.94 meters at 7 a.m. today. Accordingly, people residing in low-lying areas of the Mahaoya Valley in Alauwa, Diulapitiya, Meerigama, Pannala, Vennapuwa, Nigambo, Katana, Narammala and Dankotoa Divisional Secretariat divisions have been cautioned over an escalation of the flood situation by the Department of Irrigation. The police have informed motorists to use alternative routes to follow the motorists and make sure that the Alauwa-Kurunagala Road, while vehicular movement along the Kurunagala-Nigambo Road also in Giriulla has been disrupted due to the flood situation. Meanwhile, close to 150 families in Pandala have been directed to secure locations. Many houses in Diulgaha, Morokkuliya, Dankotua have been submerged under floods and those families have been shifted to secure locations. The Dankotua Divisional Secretariat has taken steps to provide cooked food for those families. Many areas including Nalla, Karangava, Madurupitiya, Meerigama have been inundated due to the rising water level in Mahaoya. The Meerigama Divisional Secretariat has taken steps to provide cooked food for displaced persons in the area. Many areas in Putlam have been affected from the heavy rainfall. Palavia along the Colombo main road and Aralioyana second mile post and Thambapani areas along the Kurunagala main road in Putlam have been inundated. Putlam District Secretary KG Vijayasiri said that over 3,200 individuals in Mundalama, Karuwalagaswewa, Vanatha Villuwa, Putlam and Vennapur Divisional Secretariat divisions have been affected from the heavy rainfalls and floods. The vehicular movement along the Anamadu road in Shilau has been disrupted due to the overflowing of the Rathamala Oya. Relief teams of the Sri Lanka Navy took steps to rescue 71 affected persons in Karambe Kalpitiya and directed them to secure locations. The areas surrounding the towns of Meeghakotua and Kuliapitiya have been inundated after several years. The flood situation has caused great difficulties for persons arriving in Madampe, Pannala, Nigambu, Bovatta and Kandanegedara. Tuntota in Dummala Surya has been inundated after 3 years. The vehicular movement below the Kadugannawa tunnel along the Colombo Kandy highway has been interrupted due to the falling of rocks and soil on the roads. Steps have been taken by the Sri Lanka Army, the police and the residents to clear this road. Vehicular movement along the Avissavella Hatton road has been disrupted following a landslide occurred last night in Ranjurava, Ginigathena. 38 anecots have been opened as the Attanagalu Oya has reached its spill level. People living in low-lying areas have been cautioned by the District Disaster Management Unit. The Gampaha Ganemulla and Gampaha Jayala roads in Akaravita in Kirinivita areas have been inundated following the rising water level of the Attanagalu Oya. Bulat Singhala, Molkava, Ratpandura areas have been inundated following the opening of the Kukuleganga Reservoir and the Bulat Singhala Paragoda and have been inundated with the rising water level in the Kuda Oya. Meanwhile, many low-lying areas and houses have been inundated in the Kalutara division. Minister Rohita Begunawardene informs the officials to prepare a special program to renovate the disrupted canals in the area. A low-pressure area has formed in the southeast Bay of Bengal and is likely to intensify further into a depression during the next 36 hours and move west-northwestward towards North Tamil Nadu, closer to the north coast of Sri Lanka. Accordingly, the Met Department has indicated that under the influence of the situation, showers or thunder showers will occur at times over most parts of the country. The Met Department has requested naval and fishing communities not to venture into shallow and deep sea areas until further notice from tonight. Meanwhile, Air Force Commander Air Marshal Sudarshana Pathirana has instructed to deploy the aircrafts and airmen to assist relief operations. Beechcrafts and helicopters have been instructed to be stationed at the China Harbour, Ratmalana, Hinguragoda, Palali, Anuradhapura, Veeravilla and Ampara Air Force bases. Relief teams of the Sri Lanka Navy have also been deployed to several provinces in the country and 60 additional relief teams have been stationed in the western, southern, northwestern and north-central bases.
And in more news, Dr. Vasantha Senadhira says warnings over landslides and earth slips have been issued in many parts of the country due to the prevailing weather situation.
By considering existing rainfall condition, the landslide early warning message has been extended to the following areas from 8:30 p.m. yesterday to 8:30 p.m. today. With that, warning level 2 amber was issued to LPT and Baddegama Division Secretary Division Goal District, Bulat Singhala, Palindanora, Agalawatta and Matugama Division Secretary Division in Kalutara District, Gangahila Korle Division Secretary Division Kandy District, Aranayaka, Bulat Kohopitiya, Mavanalla, Rambukkana, Deyovita and Kegol Division Secretary Division Kegol District, Naramala Division Secretary Division in Kurunagala District, Ayagama, Ratnapura, Kalavana and Aheligoda Division Secretary Division Ratnapura District, and warning level 1 which was issued to Ella and Pasara Division Secretary Division Badula District, Sitawak and Paduka Division Secretary Division Colombo District, Yakalamulla, Neluva, Akmimana, Nagoda and Golpo Cravets in Division Secretary Division Gold District, Ingiria, Valalavita, Dodangoda and Horana Division Secretary Division Kalutara District, Yatinuvara, Udunuvara, Doluva, Harispatwa, Kagawata Korle, Pasba Korle and Udapalata Division Secretary Division in Kandy District, Darnegala, Ruanwella, Parakapola from 8:30, Tiantura Division Secretary Division in from 8:30. Nividigama from 8:30, Mallopita Division Secretary Division in Kurunagala District, Rattota and Ukela Division Secretary Division in Mathura District, Walapane, Hanguranketa, Ambagamu Korle and Kothmale Division Secretary Division in Nuwara District, Kuruvita, Nivitigala, Alapatha and Kirela Division Secretary Division in Rathanpur District.
Deputy Director of Disaster Management Centre Pradeep Kodipilli has also made remarks over the existing weather situation in the country and the measures taken by the Disaster Management Centre regarding relief operations.
So meteorological department still expecting more rain today as well. More than 100 to 150 millimeter rain could also be expected in many areas of Sri Lanka, especially the northern province, north central and the northwestern province and the central area of Sri Lanka and Sabaragamu and also the western and southern province as well. And totally 11 deaths been recorded in 2 weeks time. Today 5 deaths reported in especially in Rabukkan area and Kegol district due to a landslide, and also 1 death reported in Narambala and also 1 death reported in Alavu area. So we are totally advising all people have to be very vigilant with that signs of the landslides. If a sign's been observed, so they need to move from these locations. Slanting trees and electric poles, maybe just sudden muddy springs, maybe appearing or disappearing. So likewise these observations are very important in this weather situations. More than 796 houses partially damaged, and they will be observed by these Gramadaris and all, and it will be soonly they will be given the compensations and all, and that matter is going on. But still the bad weather situation is going on and people need to be very vigilant. If any cases, if any queries, that they can access via 117 call center number in 24/7 basis in 3 languages free of charge. People can access in any time.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa says that in his belief, a modernized local apparel and batik craft will be emerged through new batik and local apparel training centres. The Prime Minister made these remarks while symbolically inaugurating 160 training centres across the country via online technology from the temple trees today. A documentary prepared on the batik training production process was presented during the event. Addressing the event, Prime Minister mentioned that Sri Lanka possesses a colourful culture as well as a history. The Prime Minister has further said that Sri Lanka is nurtured by various communities and religions while incorporating colourful shades into the aspirations, hopes, lifestyles and fashion of the people. The craft of local apparel and batik can be considered as an art form which add colours into the country's culture. The Prime Minister reminded that the factories which were considered as the strengths of the country's economy were closed down following the open economy. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa said that the local apparels had a great demand in the global market before the open economy was introduced to the country. However, he said that following the introduction of the open economy, the apparel from foreign markets began to flow into the country. As a result, he said that factories which were considered as the strengths of the country's economy were closed down. He added that handloom industry is currently in the rise. The Prime Minister said that a separate state ministry was formed with the intention to bring back the golden era of the industry which had in the past. He also said that the President made sure to provide all necessary facilities for the development of the industry. He said that no prominence was given for such industries during certain periods. He added that a separate community based on these industries are still in the country. Therefore, he said that the present government has a program to develop and promote this industry back to its feet and take their products to the foreign market.
එහෙමදුණු අනුමානයක් තමයි අපි මේ නැවත වන ගහලා අරගෙන ජාත්‍යන්තර ජය ගන්න තැනට කටයුතු කරන්න අපේ ඇමතුමා කටයුතු කරන්නේ. ඒ සඳහා රජයට වැඩපිළිවෙලක් තියෙනවා. වෙනදා බදික් පුහුණුවකට සාමාන්‍යයෙන් රුපියල්
State Minister Dasri Jayasekara said that the government is expecting to carry out a larger program through this methodology. He said that under this program, 3-month training will be provided free of charge for the youth in grassroots levels. He said that during this training, the trainees will be taught on the batik manufacturing process, on how to expand creativity and to produce their own batik products. Following the 3-month training period, he said that they will come out as entrepreneurs. The training centre, situated near the Asala grounds in Sri Javaradhanapura Kotte, was declared open today in parallel to the national ceremony. State Minister Dasri Jayasekara and parliamentarian Madhura Vithanage were present at this occasion.
In other news, Minister Uday Gammanpilla says that Sri Lanka is the only country that had not increased the fuel prices in the last couple of months despite the fuel price hike in the global market. The minister made these remarks while addressing a media briefing held at the Ministry of Energy today. Minister Uday Gammanpilla said that Sri Lanka is the only country which had not increased fuel price rates in the last 5 months. He added that the global fuel price rate was increased by 27%. Therefore, he added that the rest of the world increased their respective fuel rates in the last 5 months. The decision not to increase the rates was reached after considering the prevailing economic crisis in the country. He added that the Petroleum Corporation suffers a loss from selling kerosene at 33 rupees a litre. He further added that accordingly, the Petroleum Corporation endures a loss of 23 million rupees from the sale of kerosene at existing price rates per day. They have continued to proceed with the prevailing rates in order to provide some relief for the fisheries as well as farming communities.
Ministry of Public Administration, Home Affairs, Provincial Councils and Local Government says the Public Administration circular published on October 29th for retired pensioners has been suspended. Accordingly, the provisions of Circular 12/2005 was issued with the objective to provide special benefits for pensioners who retired after January 1st, 2016 and pensioners above 70 years of age. However, a statement issued by the Ministry of Public Administration, Home Affairs, Provincial Councils and Local Government has indicated that the circular will remain suspended pending further discussions with all relevant parties to discuss on the objections raised against the proposed insurance scheme. Governor of Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Ajit Niwad Cabral, says that export proceeds are no longer subjected to the 25% mandatory conversion rule issued by the central bank. Instead, the residual after following for permitted debits need to be converted into Sri Lanka rupees, the central bank governor said in a tweet. He has further indicated that remittances by Sri Lankan expats will not be subjected to the rule on mandatory conversion of export proceeds, as those remittances are not considered a services export by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. He has also said in his tweet that outward remittances in respect of current transactions, withdrawal in foreign exchange as permitted, debt servicing expenses, purchase of goods and services, investments in Sri Lanka development bonds are allowed before converting export earnings into Sri Lankan rupees under the rule issued by the central bank.
The Sri Lanka Podujana Education Services Association says that solutions for the teacher-principal issues, including the proposed payment of teachers' salaries as a whole, is expected to be provided tomorrow. A meeting between Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa and the Minister of Finance in this regard will be held tomorrow. The 5th convention of the Sri Lanka Podujana Educational Services Association was held at the Sri Lanka Foundation Institute in Colombo today. The event was held with the participation of Minister Gamini Lokuge. President of the Sri Lanka Podujana Educational Services Association, Wasantha Handapangoda, was present at this occasion. President of the Sri Lanka Podujana Educational Services Association, Wasantha Handapangoda, said that they are expecting to visit the Parliament to request the payment of the teachers' salaries as a whole, as was proposed. The Prime Minister, Finance Minister and Education Minister are expected to take part in this discussion. Now in other local news, Deputy Director General of Health Services Dr. Hemantha Herath says that the number of coronavirus patients infections in the country can be reduced if the public takes measures to reduce movement and continue to adhere to health guidelines. A total of 538 infected patients were identified today. The number of active cases in the country is at 10,389. According to the epidemiology unit, another 6,689 recovered persons during the period from the 28th of October to the 8th of November have been entered into this system. The overall recoveries in the country have increased up to 522,184. The Director General of Health Services confirmed 17 COVID-19 related deaths which occurred yesterday. The new ward built at the Apeksha Hospital for COVID-19 patients, together by the National Youth Services Council and Sri Lanka Youth Social Federation, was declared open today with the participation of Minister Namal Rajapaksa. Chairman and Director General of the National Youth Services Council, Damitha Wickramasinghe, was present at this occasion. A total of 29,478,130 vaccine doses have been inoculated in the country under the COVID-19 immunization program. Accordingly, 15,816,302 persons have received the first dose of the vaccine, while 13,591,413 have received both doses. Health protective cubicles for a classroom in Dharmapala College in Pannipitiya were presented today. The relevant financial assistance for this initiative was provided by the President's Media Division and the Atwala organization. President of the Atwala organization, Manoj Taranga, was present at this occasion.
Meanwhile, Director General of Health Services, Dr. Hemanta Herath, says that people should be more cautious in their activities as the health authorities have further relaxed restrictions on movement. He made his remarks addressing a media briefing held today.
We also have observed that in the past, unnecessary gathering of people or excessive gathering of people created an environment conducive for the spread of the COVID-19 disease, and this was one of the main reasons as to how we got the huge spike of disease in the few months ago, and had to take so much trouble to control that issue. And we have observed that the similar things are going to be taking place even at this moment, and I would like to urge anyone who is organizing any public gatherings of different nature, act in a responsible manner. Extremely important not to have such gatherings at this moment, because the risk of COVID-19 is still there, and any kind of public gathering will create a situation which will be conducive of spreading the disease. So therefore, we urge everyone who are involving in this organizing or participating of these public gatherings not to take part or not to organize such things at this moment, for the sake of our children who have already started our schools, and we do not know if this goes up along, we can go on our schools open, and also there will be so many other social and economic repercussions if we are going to close the country once again. So therefore, request everyone act in a responsible manner so that we are not going back to the conditions that we experienced a few months back.
16 countries have agreed to provide assistance for Sri Lanka's organic fertilizer program. Minister Mahindananda Alutgamage has requested the opposition not to provide or promote any falsified opinions in the country on environmental friendly agriculture. The minister made these remarks while responding to a query raised by opposition leader Sajith Premadasa in the parliament today. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa said that the unscientific and arbitrary decision taken on the use of chemical fertilizer has affected many decisive fields in the country. Ships containing organic fertilizer are currently roaming around the country. Ships which contain certain fertilizer identified as adverse entities are in the effort to offloading the consignments into the country. Minister Mahindananda Alutgamage said that chemical fertilizer importers and producers have made massive investments to revoke the government's decision in this regard. This investment is 100 billion and the efforts are to turn these investments away. The government has not taken any measures to raise issues over food security, farmer communities and the economy. He said that various protest actions are taking place across the country due to the influence of the opposition. An unnecessary issue has been created by the opposition over Chinese fertilizer. Even the opposition imported various substandard fertilizer into the country during their government.
State Minister Nalaka Gudaheva says that the President has instructed to re-obtain opinions and views of all the stakeholders regarding the proposed acquisition of a section of the Muthurajavilla Environment Zone into the Urban Development Authority. He said that the relevant zones have been identified to initiate the mega plan to safeguard the wetlands. The State Minister said that such zones will not be acquired through this initiative. State Minister Nalaka Gudaheva said that an operational committee with officers of 3 ministries has been appointed by the President to identify the areas which are indicated in the Gazette. He said that legal action can be taken through this Gazette over illegal acquisitions. He then pledged that these areas identified as sensitive will not be utilized for any development or business ventures.
The selection of winners of the Jaya Nana Panna Visandum competitions was held recently. The event was held at the main visual studio of the National Institute of Education. The competitions were held from primary and grades 6 to 11 as well as advanced level under both Sinhala and Tamil. The competition draw takes place once in 2 weeks. Bank of Ceylon is the main sponsor for the prizes of the winners. The competition draw for grades 4, 5, 6 and 7, 8, 9 takes place under 2 phases. Commissioner General of Examinations Sanat Pujita, Director of Educational Programs at the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation Erin Vijayakon and Sales Promotion Officer of Bank of Ceylon Tharindu Vanigasuriya were present at this occasion. The Jaya Nana draw for the Gurugedara program was conducted jointly by the Ministry of Education, State Ministry of Education Reforms, Open University and Distance Learning Promotion and National Institute of Education. The Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation is the media sponsor for the produced programs. Well, on sports news for tonight, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa Trophy 2021. The Four Nations International Football Tournament commenced at the Racecourse Grounds today. The match between Sri Lanka and Maldives ended in a draw. This is the first ever Four Nations International Tournament taking place in Sri Lanka. Accordingly, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Maldives and Seychelles will compete in the tournament. The inauguration ceremony was held this evening under the patronage of Maldivian President Ibrahim Mohamed Soli. Sri Lanka and Maldivian teams competed in the first match of the tournament. The Maldivians were able to clinch 3 goals in the first half. Maldives was able to score the first goal in the second half, taking the lead to 4-0. However, Sri Lanka came back strong and was able to add to the score sheet in the 63rd minute with their first goal. Sri Lanka was able to clinch 4 goals altogether before the final whistle. Sri Lanka's Wasim Razik was able to score 4 goals during the match, recording the highest number of goals scored in a match by a Sri Lankan in history. Well, that's it on the Rupavahini English News Desk for tonight. Join us once again tomorrow. Until then, thanks for watching. Stay safe, take care, good night.
Good night.